Uh, right, okay. I think I've featured it throughout the conversation. A couple of things really about knowing yourself, about being self-aware and heightening your perception of yourself, believing yourself, being resilient, and ability to bounce back after disappointments and learning from those disappointments. And I think what I've done with clients in the past, and there are free online assessments that you can do around your personality, you know, getting to know how you get your energy, what sort of decisions you make and how you make them, and really getting a sense of things that employers don't use in recruitment but you would use in your personal development journey. And I think, you know, things like the 16 principles and 5 voices and things that are online about personality self-assessment, they're deeply sort of entrenched in academics, sort of psychology stuff, but actually some of the feedback that clients have got have been quite useful to them as a starting point to look at making changes and securing their intentionality. It's not about changing your personality, it's about really getting to know who you are, because you can't expect to let other people get you if you don't get yourself. You can often work with a friend that can provide support and, more importantly, challenge, so you can really come to terms with some of those things and put yourself in a stretch position where you can really learn. Another thing that I share from my clients' previous experience is a book on you've been called to interview What Now by Claire Jenkins and Anita Pickardin. It's a really good, simple, straightforward and illustrated book, and it's by 2 fellow Brummy coaches. So I would advocate that you have a look at it, go to the library and get it, or buy it on Amazon. It's been really useful to clients. Oh, I can see that Claire Jenkins is online. It just suddenly struck me when I started using it with clients. They've, you know, advocated its use with children, you know, so we were talking about people that were, senior leadership posts, and it's something that I think is very, very useful, and it's got a lot of resources in there that will help you in your learning journey. So that's all from me, really. Thank you.
Thanks, Lawrence, that's great. Anne, let's come to you next.
Right. Be proactive about the job searching. If you're looking for a role that you're going to work 25 hours a week, 30 hours a week, put that same amount of time into looking for work. So if you're going to work 25 hours a week, spend 25 hours a week looking for work, and set yourself a plan, set yourself a daily plan and set yourself a weekly plan, saying exactly what you're going to do, who you're going to approach, how you're going to approach them, sending off, penciling into your diary, who you're going to contact. Are you going to email them? Is it going to be cold calling? What you're going to do, and then check it at the end of the day. And what you haven't got done on a Monday, you carry over to a Tuesday, but you make sure that you are really investing that time into getting yourself work. There's a lot of support out there to people, but you need to be putting the time and energy in for yourself. And it's that simple.
Fantastic. Thanks, Anne. Serena, let's come to you next.
Use local providers and organisations for support. They're there, they're out there. They've got information on social media. You can phone them up, you can go in and speak to them, you can have Zoom calls, whichever's better for you. Talk to family and friends for vacancies and support. Ask them to be candid and truthful with you. Is there anything I'm missing? Is there anything on my body language or my tone of voice, or what I'm saying that might be misunderstood? Be communication, organised, follow up. That's in order for me. And one last thing from me, if you believe in you, other people will believe in you. You have to believe in you first.
Definitely. That's great. Thanks, Serena. Christy.
Yeah, I would say that, you know, securing a job at any time is a difficult challenge. Securing a job at the moment in the last 12 months is horrendously difficult, because we're in an environment where things are changing in all directions all of the time. So when you're, in terms of where you're looking for a job, I'd advise to try and keep your options open. You know, the situation as it stands right now, you know, we know that hospitality is sort of opening up to some degree. Construction has been sort of ticking over. You know, some sectors have been decimated, some sectors have grown. So when you're deciding about, you know, the areas of work you're interested in and the job roles, make sure you're taking account of the situation at the moment. You know, if you really want to get a job in an area that's very competitive, you know, keep trying. But there may be, you know, you may have other options to look at other areas in the meantime, and it may be that in a year or two's time the situation may be different. So I'd really encourage you to take notice of the environment that we're in at the moment.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Christy. Andrea?
Oh, I've got a few things to say. First of all, as I mentioned earlier on, LinkedIn is just the best tool ever. Please, if you haven't got one already, set up a LinkedIn profile, spend time building your network, look at other people's profiles if you're unsure. You know, when I started my LinkedIn about 10 years ago, it took me ages to get around to now. I've got about 7,500 followers. And of those followers, I've probably worked with 80% of them, whether it be in a professional capacity, whether I've met them at careers fairs. On that subject of social media and careers fairs, keep your social media private or very clean. Don't share anything that you wouldn't share with your grandmother. You never know who's going to look you up, and it's very easy to find out anything online these days. So be very careful with your social media. I like a meme as good as the next person, as much as the next person, but at the same time, be careful with how you use them. As I mentioned, careers fairs, look at what's in your local area. Now we're coming out of the pandemic, let's hope. There will be opportunities for you to go out and mingle and look at what local employers have got on offer. And I would be tenacious, keep applying, keep going, something will drop. And occasionally, as we mentioned earlier on, if you're declined or, you know, an employer tells you no, they may come back to you. Not only that, for me, I've had employers that have created job roles for me that didn't exist just because they liked me. That could be you. And that's yeah, my top tips.
That's great. Thanks, Andrea. And Becky?
Oh gosh, how do I follow all of that? There's some absolutely amazing advice that my fellow panelists have given there. So thank you very much, everybody. Just to really add my little 2 pence worth into it, and I could actually talk for the whole hour on this particular subject itself. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. Never let yourself be defined by what other people think of you. Every experience is a good experience, and learn as much as you can. Try not to take things personally, and be open to opportunities. That would be, you know, the all over encompassing piece of advice that I would want to give to anybody who's entering the employment market. To give some personal experience from that, back in 2004, when I had my very, very first job for recruitment, I had my 3rd interview with the managing director, and he told me I was never going to have a successful career in recruitment. So 17 years later, I know it still annoys him, the fact that I do have a successful career in recruitment, and it's a good job that I didn't listen to that person. But it would have been very easy to walk away from that situation and think, actually, well, it's not going to be for me, and I never would have applied for any other roles in recruitment, and I wouldn't be sat here today in front of all of you lovely people. I would also say that embrace every opportunity and be open-minded. If you want to do work experiences, and suggested, you never know where that may take you. The amount of times I've known candidates who've gone in and offered and done work experience and then been offered permanent appointments after that, showing what they can do, it's countless times in the last 17, 18 years. Also, don't worry about job titles. Think about what kind of job you will enjoy doing. It doesn't matter what kind of industry it is in potentially. Think about the kind of teams that you want to work in. What's your working style? Do you like a job where everything's going to be changing from one moment to another? Or do you like to go in at the start of the day, know exactly what you're going to achieve, and have that very satisfying feeling of crossing everything off your to-do list? Or are you somewhere in between? And then think about roles that potentially might mirror those characteristics that you have. And then something that Anne mentioned at the start of the webinar was talking about having a master copy of your CV and tailoring your CV. That is, without doubt, probably my #1 piece of advice. The amount of CVs that we see on a daily basis, and this could be from everything from an entry-level role up to, honestly, senior management roles where salaries are into the 6 figures, you can see immediately when somebody hasn't put any time, care or attention into making the application. And a top tip for you, generally you have between 3 and 6 seconds to grab someone's attention with your CV. So you immediately need to put in front of them what they need to see and make it very clear. So as much as it takes time, it is better to make far fewer applications, but really tailor those applications to mirror some of the language that maybe the company talks about on their website or is in the job specification, and really making sure that you're addressing those key points that they're looking for, even if it's just rearranging the bullet points. So that if you're applying for a customer service role and that was part of what you did previously, but it wasn't the main part of your role, move it straight up to the top, because immediately then the person reviewing it will be able to see your relevant experience straight away. So I will leave it at that. Something I'm very passionate about. So as I said, I could talk for hours on it myself. But yeah, I think all of the panelists have given some really, really amazing advice there. So hopefully people watching have gained some interesting and useful top tips.